Hey Hebrew fans, this is Todd, and for some reason I've been opening a lot of the cartoon collection figures lately. I don't know, I wasn't planning on getting any, but for some reason I just keep purchasing them. So let's take a look and break down the new cartoon Orko. Now, for those that know me, and many of you do from all the videos you've been watching, I am not a huge Orko fan. He has never been one of my characters I've liked. I actually like him less than Hordak, believe it or not. And just as a kid, when I'd watch the cartoon, I just kind of found it insulting, this Orko character. I wanted a barbarian type cartoon, like the comics were, and Orko just seemed kind of odd to me. And you're probably looking going, but you have all these Orkos. I know, it's a little crazy. But let's go ahead and break this down and talk about it anyway. He is part of the lore, so I do have Orko figures. Now, originally, the Orko figure we had back in the 80s, he looked similar to this, but not exactly. And he had a hole in his side, and you had a drawstring, and zip, you'd pull the drawstring, and he would waddle around all over your floor and kind of, dance around a little bit. And he was kind of an oversized figure for who he was supposed to be. So I can see why the figures are kind of oversized later on because of that. So we're going to take some time and look at Orko from the cartoon and compare his size next to He-Man and see about how tall he should be. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Now, I do have the Origins Orko, and I do have the Super7 Orko. I do not have the 80s one. They've been really cool. And I do have the new Filmation cartoon collection Origins Orko as well. I also have a whole bunch of classics lined up here too that we'll probably talk about as well. Uncle Montauk has fallen. That's why I pulled this one out, so we can compare this Uncle Montauk to the new one. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this new one here. And on the back of the card, it says includes swappable Uncle Montauk torque head, includes hero medal and floating stand. There we go. And here's the figures in the line: Orko, Grizzlor, and Fangman. And they got a really cool looking comic up here. Now, if you didn't get Orko yet, this might be a cool one to get two of, so you could actually then have both characters. But let's bust this open and take a look at it. Open. It's just not wanting to come apart. Ah, there we go. And it has a cool comic of Masters of the Universe. And we got some females I haven't seen before, so that will be interesting. So it looks like more She-Ra stuff may be coming. So that will be cool. Cool. And let's see how he comes apart. His hands, his head, his scarf, and his stand. So let's get him out of the package. And all right. Well, that's kind of funny. He's got the square eyes. And he has the round head. So let's talk about articulation. So first of all, this is hooks on right here. And there is no articulation on this piece here. So you can't lean him forward when he's flying or anything else. And then he has shoulder articulation, elbow articulation, wrist articulation, back and forth. And then on this side, back and forth as well. And then his head moves a lot. And being the parts are all separated, you can get a lot of movement in there. From his hat to his head to his scarf. So lots of movement there. His ears are actually attached to his hat, which we saw in the original toy Orko a long time ago. The ears actually poked through the hat so that you wouldn't accidentally well, you wouldn't actually do nothing, but when his hat came off, it was kind of cool. His ears would still be attached. That's it. So if you pulled his hat off, you wouldn't lose his ears. So when you pull this hat off, whoop, you got this little bald head looking thing there. But I guess that makes sense. So you can turn him into Uncle Mortok. Montork, and then stick this on, and then put on the same hat, and there you go. Now it's kind of interesting as they show his eyes being just square, but I believe it was actually supposed to be square glasses he was wearing. Hold on, my light has died. Light C is dead. Go ahead and charge that. And we will use the AA light. There we go. So I always thought it was supposed to be glasses. I'll have to go back and look at the cartoon and see if it's supposed to be glasses or squares. But interesting, here is the one we got with classics, and you can kind of see the difference. Now, one thing I did notice about this off the bat is you have that O in the way. No, not the O. So let's see if we can fix that problem. And let's pull off his head. Turn this around. Turn it around town. Nope, you can't. I was going to try to put it on the back and see if that worked. That's how I used to make my customs a long time ago, is I would just literally turn the figure around, and that way you'd hide the O. Oop. But unfortunately, on this figure, the back is shaped differently. You just can't turn the head around. So you're going to have to find some way to get rid of the O. Even if you clean off the black paint, there's actually a slight indent on there as well. So we'll still have the O on there. So, bummer about that, but I guess that's just how it is. Oops, I got the wrong head with the wrong... Let's put him back to Orko. There we go. Oh, funny, you can get this backwards. No, I didn't pay attention. Well, this has pink on the bottom, so it's got to be this way. That is funny. See, it's more rounded on top, but you could easily swap those around. Oh, the head's a different size. Cool. Good job, Mattel. You can't accidentally mess it up. Look at that. Even a little articulation point inside the hat. That is cool. Good job, Mattel. So let's compare him to the most recent Orko we just got, which is this one right here, Origins. Now, first off, Orko usually flies just a little shorter than the figures. So I think this is a little bit too short, but I guess that's okay. Height-wise, this one's just a little bit too tall for how high he flies. But let's go ahead and check out the articulation difference. First of all, this one has a stand that has lots of articulation, so you can make them fly all kinds of ways. That was really cool. So Mattel did a good job on giving us lots of articulation for the flight stand. And you could actually lean him sideways and everything else and do some really cool, fun flying moves, like he's running away from Skeletor. Oh no! Which was really cool. So I did like the old stand for that. Let's see if the old stand fits into the new Orko. I don't think it will. Let's take a look here. Oh, it does! Hey! You got the best of both worlds. You can have the old stand, and it looks like it's the same height, and the new Orko. So then you could do your cool flying around stuff and have them do the movements. All right, good job, Mattel, on that. All right, so now another feature is his hat moves with his eyes on this one. So if you can have his hat move down, but then so does his face. On this one, you could pop his hat up and put his eyes down and do kind of a dual movement. So there's a lot of extra movement whoop, in that head than we had on this one. This one, the hat is a permanent part of his head. Let's talk about the arms now. These arms go up and down, and the elbows move, and the wrists move. And these ones here also go up and down and move, but they're much smaller arms because this Orko is actually smaller. So speaking of size, let's go ahead and do some comparison of how big Orko should be next to He-Man. So let's go ahead and take a look here. I happen to have my handy dandy calipers, and we'll just measure Orko off of this frame. Now I just took this frame from the cartoon a few minutes ago, And we'll go from the, I guess we'll go from the top of his hat to his piece there. And he's 53 millimeters. That's funny, it's almost the same. So let's go ahead and start our equation. Where is my tablet of power? Look at that. He-Man. And let's open this up. And so we have, we'll just call it 54 millimeters. Where are all my pens? There we go. And I'll take the blue pen here and we will say, oh, too small. 54. And now let's take and measure how tall He-Man is. And he is 154.6. So we will make him 155. That is really sloppy. Oh, I'll leave it the whole thing. 54. 155. And now let's measure He-Man on here and see how tall he is. And he is 139. 139. There we go. So now let's solve for X. And let's pull out my handy dandy calculator known as my other iPhone. And all I have to do is multiply these across. So what you do is you multiply this way and then divide by this. So let's go and do that now. $54 times 155. Divided by 139. So we're talking 60 millimeters. The answer is 60. So let's go ahead and measure this Orko now and see how tall he is. He's really close. He's taller than he should be, but not by much. He's 73, which isn't too bad. And he is, this one's way too tall. This one is 81. And let's check how tall he is. So he's a little bit too small, but not too much. Let's go and try the Classics one. The Classics one is 71. Wow. It's almost the same height as the Classics one. That's hilarious. Crazy. I was not expecting that. All right, there we go. So Orko should be a little smaller, but this is closer. Way closer to what Orko should be for our Classics than this giant one over here. So to make my perfect Orko, I would use the old stand and the new Orko, and there you go. All right. The head is kind of loose though. It's kind of weird. I do like that his hat is more, this one right here, I know it's very Filmation-y, very cartoony, the way they designed it, but it's just too flared. And if you look in the cartoon, it's just a little flared, not super flared. So kind of a little strange there. But if you wanted to, let's see if you can do a head swap. Let's just see how well this head swap works. Ugh. Ugh. So if you wanted to use the other head, which doesn't look too bad really. Not too shabby at all. In fact, if you wanted to even do some more mixing and matching, oh, it doesn't come off. Oh, it's stuck onto the scarf. So if you wanted to give him a little bit different look, you could use this head for your Orko and use this head for your Uncle. Wait a second. Oh yeah, this comes apart. And use this head for the Unk. Ooh. The Skunky Unky. There we go. Ugh. That way they don't look identical and they have some differences to them, because the hat's a little different shape and this one does look more cartoony. So bummer this doesn't come off. Bummer. It's funny, you can tell his head is so much smaller. It doesn't sit as low. Alright, so I am going to take back what I said earlier. I think I actually like the head being attached as one piece, because otherwise you keep losing the eyes in there. So I might actually use the old head with the new body and the old stand. I mean, I do like the extra articulation, it is cool. I haven't quite decided yet. I'm undecided. Alright, well, since we're here, let's go ahead and talk about some more Orko fun. So, as you guys know, I am a huge fan of classics. You hear it all the time. But I have to admit, the new Orko, I think, is actually better than the classics. And let me explain why. One, he has that extra articulation point in the hat. That's really cool. Two, he just looks more like the Orko that we know. I mean, the colors match better to the cartoon and everything else. You know, I do like that dark purple that we had on the classics one. One thing classics did do right was they put a ball joint here, so you can have them fly all crazy and stuff. And then they gave us these two in a special pack, which was cool. And they gave us the one that turns clear in cold water. And then I made my own yuckers, yuck, out of this guy right here. And I did my little trick of turning him around. See, there's the O on his back. Target on your back. And that way it just looks like it's nice and clean instead of having to. And this is just black tape, so I can pull that off. And also, while we're here, kind of a fun treat is I have a picture of the unmasked Orko. Here is Orko unmasked. So that's what he looks like without his mask on. The unmasked Orko. I thought it was kind of funny is seeing that. It just cracks me up. Alright. Now we did get another fun figure. And that is the nameless one. I think that's his name, right? Faceless one? Nameless one. I don't know. The unnamed one. And this was him right here. And one thing I did not like about this figure was they took away the articulation. No articulation on the stand. I'm like, man. So I took a Dremel tool, dremeled out the inside, put an Orko one stand on there, added a weight, because without the weight he'll fall off all the time. And now with that extra weight being added, you can actually lean him over and have him do his magical stuff. Shing, shing, shing. Now he is just barely balancing here. He can fall really easy. If you put this hand back, though, it's not quite as bad. But this way you can actually have him have motion while you're posing him and make it cooler than just a static straight up and down guy. See, way cooler. This is dynamic. This is not very dynamic at all with a solid piece. All right, I am almost done. One last thing, and that is when these guys were released, I believe they were released by Super7. They came with these silver stands. Silver stands, not clear. Now they're nice and wide, which was cool. Does that say Super? Yeah, it says Super7 on it. You can see that or not. Super7 back in 2018. Look at that. Made in China. But it's like, I want the clear stands. Otherwise, it's just looks like they have some kind of weird silver stick holding them up. So I went and found some more Orko stands and put them on there and replaced them with the Orko stands. So I bought a ton of Orkos at one time. That's why I have so many Prince Adam customs too. So there you go. And then for him, I actually made his own stand. I have two versions of it. I have the short version and the tall version. And the short version is if I want him to be the same height at the bottom. And the tall version is if I want him to be the same height at the top. So their heads are the same height. Chink! So that is my two stands, depending on how I want it to be. And I kind of wish I made a version where his eyes were the same height, but I wasn't planning ahead or thinking about that. But, alright. I think I've pretty much ran the gambit with all the Orko stuff I got. Crazy, crazy. So, if you're going to make your own custom Orko, 60 millimeters is the size you want for your standard Orko, if you're going to go that route. All right, and like they say, I guess that's all I got. You guys post your comments. I want to know. Which Orko you like better out of Origins. Do you like the original Orko? Now, when I say this, I mean stand and all. I mean, everything is included. So let's go and swap these guys back to the original configuration. Here's the original configuration. Original configuration. So do you like the first Origins that was released with the very cartoony looking hat that kind of points up really high and has one articulation for the neck and two articulations for the stand, which is a huge bonus? Or do you like... Stay on your stick, man. Or do you like the new cartoon Orko that has extra articulation in his hat, so you can do all kinds of cool, fun, but no articulation here on the bottom. But smaller size, so it's closer to matching the true cartoon size of Orko with your Origins. Alright, so those are the choices. Let me know. And I will put this back the way I had it, because that's what I like. And I do like the cool clearness of this, but I like the articulation of this more. So look at that. Dynamic poses. You can make them shorter too by doing this. You can't make them taller, but you can just joggle it so he's actually shorter. Alright. I think that is the end now. Yes. Yes! Of course, I got all these Orko accessories and Orko pieces everywhere. Was it the nameless one or the faceless one? I guess the nameless one. The faceless one had the white head, right? Yeah. Yep, that's what it was. Alright. Anyway, like they say in the 1987 movie, good journey. Good journey. Bye now.
If you found enjoyment, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Do it!